Aquarius 14, a train entering a tunnel. The train is running on a track and entering an unknown future, as are we. The track that's set for us by our parents mainly, but all the other social pressures upon us to behave in the accepted way, to do what other people do, to be no different from the common herd. This develops a sense of community because we have to adhere to standards. Now, we can see this process in one of two ways, for sure. For example, we could see this as uninspired conformity. You're just doing what you're told to do, and it's not especially what you want to do. You could see it that way. And many people do. They go to work on a Monday morning seeing it that way. And yet you could see it as very helpful guidance. For sure, if we did not have the instruction that we received as we were told how to behave in conformity to our community's way of being, we would be floundering. We would not know what to do in various situations. We would use our spontaneous feelings to guide our processes in life, and we wouldn't get very far because those emotional processes are ill-disciplined and ineffectual. Emotions really are not likely to take us where we want to go in the long term. For this we need some measure of discipline, moderation, attunement to other people, and for this we do need a track, and we need to be given this track. So whether you see that as an imposition or a helpful process to guide you along, that's a real life choice. And it may be that we need to see it as a bit of both. Some parts of what we have been made to do by the school system and by our employers, it's just unnecessary. It's just an abuse of power, somebody wanting us to be like them because they would feel frightened if we were different. Part of what we're told to do is for that reason. That's not okay. But a part of it is to serve the greater needs of the community, without which we would have much less than we have now. And for this to work, everyone needs to know what is their duty. Whether or not you attend to your duty, or you do it in a sense of obedience to that imposed duty, or whether you do it out of human kindness, whether you behave in a civilized way because you don't want to impose upon other people, and it's a courtesy that you offer in order not to do anyone any harm, not to upset anyone's feeling, as a gentle way of being. This again is a choice of attitude. We don't have any choice about the track of our lives being given to us in the early days, and we don't have very much choice about undoing that very deeply processed, unconscious conformity. We can't undo all of the environmental conditioning we received in our unconscious years. It won't be done. Not completely. But it can be looked at with consciousness, and a decision can be made about the extent to which we are willing to conform to the tried and tested normal processes of society, and the extent to which we want to be eccentric, outside of the center. And everyone is, to some extent or another, a little bit of a non-conformist. Whether this is seen, though, as helpful or intrusive is the key question. This applies to all imposition of discipline. Now, the reason we need imposed discipline is because we lack self-discipline. This begins as a baby, of course, and most people never grow up, never grow out of that need for imposed discipline. Those of us who really want to progress on a spiritual path have to learn that without self-discipline, self-control, there will be imposition of disciplines and controls. That's how it goes. So to learn to be free of imposed authority figures, you need to become your own authority and make your own mind up about what it is that you are, what you want to do, what's right for you. And this comes about by establishing your own principles and practices. What you believe in, what you stand for, and how you do it. If you can work that out for yourself in a way which is in some way in keeping with the community requirements and not slavishly obedient to them by any means, but courteous enough to take into account the fact that if you do it your way, some people won't like it, and you have to just work around that somehow, but come up with your own principles and practices which will be different from the community norm. If you don't do that, you will be either ill-disciplined or slavishly conformist, neither of which is the path of freedom on a spiritual level. So the path of freedom is not at all the absence of self-discipline, self-control. It is an arising that comes from that foundation. That's the springboard. Self-discipline is the springboard towards freedom. Rudyard goes further into this question of the spiritual path. There are people that just cruise along in life and they don't really follow the track and they don't go against the track. They just make it all up as they go along without any particular goal in mind or principles to stand for. They just somehow survive until death, and no great statement is being made. Other people are blind in their faith. They believe a religion without challenging its philosophies and practices. They conform to the society that they've chosen to be with, which is the religious group within their community. And they don't do as they're told exactly, but they do what everybody else does. And if they don't follow the herd, then there will be censure. There'll be a telling off going on, a tutting at them, and a shunning even. So these people have taken on an even higher level of the track of their lives. There's a third group of people that are not cruising and they're not following anyone else, but they're ardent in their pursuit of fame and fortune. They're the ones that want all the money and the titles of importance, and they work very hard and they got on with their life in that way, which is called successful for some reason, even though it creates in the body conditions of stress very often that kills them off earlier. It's called success. So there's that type as well. And then there's the fourth type. And we need to choose how much of the track of our community that we're going to follow, which won't be very much, just enough to be courteous and civil, but it won't really be following our parents' way of doing things. If we can move away from that, that's very good. We're not pursuing the false goal of fame and fortune because it's just damaging to the body, damaging to the soul, damaging to the psyche, and it doesn't actually bring happiness. That's silly. And we're not going to follow the religionists either, because they haven't worked it out. They've had a very, very long time to demonstrate how their religion makes them happy and joyful, but it's not my experience that an ardent religionist is a joyful person. Not at all. So what we have to do is to find our way. which is our own track. And it's not a straight line, it's a circuitous path, a path of love, a path of harmony and beauty. It's walked with a straight back and a noble spirit, and it's involved with the community, interacting with the community, but not dependent upon it for emotional well-being. This is the track of the spiritual seeker. We do have a vision, and that vision is measured in terms of perfection of personality. And we want to know God. We want to have a direct experience, the mystic's experience of God. And flow with life. Just have enough to come up with whatever is needed in any situation. And this is the image of the train going in the tunnel, in the sense that if you create your own track and you enter this dark uncertainty of the future, you know that you have enough skills and talents and resourcefulness and imagination to cope.